Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast covering all things Ipswich Town since 2015. My name is Mikey Pensy-Smith, and on the weekend some hardy souls spent their Saturday afternoon in the pouring rain on the terraces. I'm joined by two men who much prefer to be in the warmth of hospitality. It's David Diamond and Craig Fimbo. How are you both?
Yeah, good, Mikey. Thanks. Good to see you.
Yep, good. Thank you.
And yeah, go on then, Craig. Tell us all about hospitality at the Colchester Stadium. Is it the JobServe Stadium?
The JobServe Community Stadium. Yeah.
You're on a scouting mission, weren't you, for Ipswich Town?
Well, I had plenty to choose from, mate. There was seven in the starting 11 for Col U. There were seven players with Ipswich connections, plus Tom Eastman on the bench, plus Corey and Darber was playing for Salford. So yeah, there was plenty to pique your interest if it wasn't just such a terribly awful game of football. Obviously, it was absolutely lashing it down for the entire match, and luckily we were a little bit further up the stand. But even so, we were getting soaking wet once the wind started whipping around. It was atrocious. But yeah, the level of football was not spectacular. Dobra started actually in the number 10 position for Col U, and then quickly got moved wide left. They went to 4-1-4-1, and then he got hauled off 5 minutes into the second half. He didn't do much at all. And Darber was better. He played left back for Salford, and pretty much just strolled through the game. To be fair to him, he was only up against Alan Judge, so just barged him off the ball a couple of times. But the old Ipswich players looked a little bit lethargic, shall we say? Dear old Cole Skews has shaved his beard off and looks like a very old librarian or insurance salesman now. He's struggling a bit. And the Col U fans weren't giving the old Ipswich players cutting them much slack, shall we say?
Who was the pick? If you had to pick one, who was the pick of the ex-Ipswich players? Do you think, or were they all really on a similar poor level?
Was Smith playing with Chambers?
Smith and Chambers played centre half. Yeah, to start with. Second half, they brought Eastman on and went all three of those at centre back.
They brought Eastman on for Dobra, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they sort of made two changes, just to solidify it, sort of thing. Nooble was Nooble, things just bouncing off of him as far as 40 yards off of him. Judge was trying stuff that wasn't coming off. Dobra was slipping and sliding everywhere and just getting nudged off the ball.
What about good old Fred? What about Freddie? Was he a goal threat at all?
No, it wasn't much of a goal threat from the right wing. He was scuttling around as he does, but honestly, none of them did anything. And Darber was by far and away the best player with an Ipswich connection, shall we say?
As Mick used to say, I bet Freddie put in a shift, though, didn't he? Did he put in a shift? Did he clock in and out, do we think?
Yeah, he to be fair, of all the ex-Ipswich players, he's the one that the Col U fans like the most. Him and Nooble, I think
I guess.
He started there, didn't he? And he did well for the first time he was there, didn't he? So I think they give him a little bit of leeway.
Tell you who did put a shift in this weekend, gents, and that's Chris Wade, who ran the London Marathon today.
Fantastic. Saw that, just congratulations.
Massive congratulations to him and indeed anyone who ran the marathon. I don't ever want to put myself through that, but
absolutely
Chris did a cracking job and raised loads of money. If you want to go and congratulate him on Twitter, he's at Chris Wade 88. He ran for the Lullaby Trust, and it's not too late if you want to donate to that cause as well. All of it's pinned on his Twitter account. But well done to Chris Wade, and I'm sure by this time he's enjoying a well-earned pint of ale and some jelly deals in the East End somewhere, isn't he?
It's a great achievement, that. Fantastic.
Yeah, well done, Chris.
Yeah, brilliant.
Lovely stuff. So yeah, let's move into the news. And Dave, on Friday, Burley's old. Sorry, I've got that completely wrong. I wanted to talk to you about Craig about Friday night with George Burley. We really confused myself there because we've already talked about it, haven't we?
Yes. So very briefly, I was at Brightlingsea Regent on Friday night. They had an evening with George Burley, similar to the one they did at Bury, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, where he had just went through his playing career and then onto his managerial career, and then there was like a Q&A at the end of it. But it's a really, really interesting evening. He's not someone that you often see on the circuit, if you know what I mean. You'll see Walkie pop up quite often and doing the stuff at Ipswich, doesn't he? In hospitality, he does, but you don't often see George Burley. So it was really interesting actually, just from his moving down to Ipswich when he was 15. He left home.
Wow.
Just literally just after his 14th birthday, he said. So can you imagine 15-year-old boy coming down from Scotland to
be fair, they used to take a lot of Scots lads back in the day. I mean, a bit further on, a couple of years further on, you got Brazil and Johnny Walker as well. But they used to take a lot of Scots lads. That was a hotbed for Ipswich scouting back then. So I don't think he was on his own, probably.
No, but so it's just quite interesting that they talked through when he was in the reserves for a couple of years, and he's obviously debut against George Best, and he went through his career pretty much, and through his injury that he had, which should have been a career-ending injury.
He was one of the first when he pioneered
and he
surgery.
Still went on to, I think, play another 200 odd matches here, there, and everywhere. So
incredible,
and obviously through his managerial career and bits and pieces like that. So it's really interesting. So if I think Kieran, the guy that runs Purple Events, is looking to, if not get George again, then get other ex-Ipswich players out. So I'm sure we'll give him a promotion, promote it as and when it comes out. So they're well worth going to.
I used to go to those roadshow ones that they used to do at the Dove now and again, and Milch used to compare them, and I saw Beattie and Ian Marshall and a few. Really good nights, actually, really good. Yeah.
Great stuff. That my segue was going to be staying with the Ipswich Colchester connection, Craig, but I completely messed it up and went into the news jingle.
Funnily enough, there was a ColU fan there, and as part of the Q&A, this ColU fan asked, and this was with a deadpan straight face, George, do you regret leaving Colchester United for Ipswich Town?
So how did he handle that one?
He must have been on a wind-up.
George said, well, I was only there 6 months. You got 150 grand compensation for me.
Wow.
I think it was the best thing to do. And actually, when I asked my question, I asked him about Finidi and Serini and said, George, when you were standing on the sidelines at the San Siro, do you think back and wonder whether did you make the right decision leaving Colchester United for Ipswich Town?
Lovely stuff. So here's a segue that should work though. I'll try it again for the second time. Burley's old teammate Terry Butcher was in the news this week, Dave. He was on a podcast with the BBC talking about heading of the football and how he thinks that in time it should be phased out of the game. You've been around a while, Dave. You've seen football.
I remember at primary school, we used to have, actually on that old, we used to have leather ones with a lace in it at primary school. No dugging out of that, and you used to have to head it. Otherwise, it was, I don't know, lines or something. It was
you've seen gradual changes over the year, haven't
you?
I
have.
Is this one that you can see gradually changing?
Surely not. No, I can't. I mean, bike and look, there's an issue there. Clearly, there's an issue there. Clearly, there was, and there is an issue there. And I think it's at under 12 level, is it, or under 11 level already? They've cut out, I think, heading the ball, certainly in training. Whether that goes for properly organised games or not, I don't know. But I can't take that. How can they take that out of the professional game? I mean, how's it work? It's going to be like 5-a-side, overhead height, free kick. Well, the game will, it just can't flow. I can't see how it can work. And I, obviously acknowledge it's terribly sad, the Jeff Astles and Nobby Styles and, countless others back then, probably Charlton now, that have got dementia. And obviously there is a link there certainly back then to head into the ball. But, by comparison, the balls now are like beach balls, for goodness sake. And I don't think there is so much head into the ball. From my experience, there is so much head into the ball now because the ball is played. The game is now played much more on the deck than it was back then. So I just don't see how that can ever work. Don't see it.
You don't see it. I'll just quickly read through what Terry Butcher had to say on it. He says, I think you've got to do it gradually. I think you have to be very careful, but I think you have to look at safety. You have to look at families losing their loved ones too early.
Of course.
I'd like to see it phased out. I think it's something that has been strong, particularly in Britain, with the way that we used to play, but not so much now. I think it's something that we can do without, and then it would rule out the trauma of heading a football, particularly at pace. You've got to get some brain trauma in there because your brain is going to rattle against your skull. It's not good. I don't think that people actually realise the importance of this and realise that there's something in football that can be catastrophic for players in the future. Injuries, broken legs, cruciate, you all recover from them, but you don't recover, or you never recover from a real huge, heavy brain trauma. Okay, he's definitely got a point, hasn't he, Dave?
Oh,
I
no,
think
he's got a point.
More
of course,
investigation has to be done,
no,
especially with what you mentioned,
absolutely. Hold my hands up.
modern
No,
football.
totally got a point. It's dreadfully sad. It's dreadful. You know, you're right. Families are losing loved ones to it, but I just can't see how it'd ever work in our game. Can you? How does it work? You know, it'd be like
And by
5-a-side. You know, overhead height, free kick. You know, the ball would never hardly ever be in play, would it?
And you'll be watching Sky Sports. You'll be watching the football, and then just after the football finishes, they'll bring the boxing on, where two blokes are clumping the hell out of each other and knocking each other around the head. And or they'll be having the the UFC? What's that mullet likes that, doesn't he? That step up from WWE just a little bit.
Oh yeah, Is it UFC?
Oh, God. People kicking themselves,
picking a fight with mullet.
People kicking each
WWE
other around the head.
when they're hitting themselves over the head with step ladders, because obviously that's real. If they're hitting themselves over the head with step ladders,
just say UFC is completely different to that.
I know.
They're all dressed up in their little clown costumes and all sorts.
Because at UFC's when they're in like the trampoline ring, isn't it? Yeah, I know the K. Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, look, there is a problem, but I don't. You guys, surely, how does that ever work in our game? How can you possibly phase that out? How? I can't see it. Just can't ever see it.
Arsene Wenger sort it out. He'll have a.
Arsenal have a sort it.
Yeah, Arsene Wenger just seems to toe whatever the FIFA line is these days.
But I must acknowledge, I wasn't demeaning anything that Butcher said at all. There is a real issue, and it's really sad. But how you can possibly take that out of our game, of the game, I don't know. I don't know how that can work.
Okay. It was a good weekend for the ITFC women's team, who maintained their 100% start to the season with a 3-1 win over the London Bees. They sit joint top with Southampton. They've both got 21 points from a possible 21. I mean, doing the town proud, aren't they, Dave?
Oh, fantastic! I mean, I must confess, I haven't been yet, but I think I must check the fixtures, because that Southampton one down at Felixstowe could be an absolute corker. Because I did look earlier in Southampton. I think Ipswich is second, obviously 1-7. I think 1-7 since the start of the season. Got a goal differ plus 26. Southampton the same, got a goal difference of plus 39 for Christ's sake. Yeah. I think they won 9 or 8 or 9-0 today. So there's obviously they're the two to beat. And I think third was Crawley, I believe. I think we've already beaten. I'm sure we've already beaten them. So I know GB goes. He's been a few. So I think he might go quite regularly. And he said no, it's a good. I think Rich has gone. And Rich has been as well. Yeah, he said no, it's a good afternoon, good entertainment.
Rich went the other week. Yeah,
I will certainly look.
It was away today.
Yeah, no, it was. I will certainly look at. I think if it's upcoming for that Southampton game, because that could be an absolute cracker. Yeah,
I think the Southampton game is like the second last game of the season. I think.
Oh, is it?
I think it might be the last home game of the season.
Oh, is it?
April time, yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
no,
I'll try.
Nice day at the seaside, Dave.
Nice day, yeah. No, bit ideal. Bit of golf in the morning. What's not to like? Bit of footy in the afternoon. Well, as you did today. Good God, fantastic! What a day! What a day you've had.
Yeah, great day.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And now I'm sat here chatting to you guys. So yeah,
it just gets better. Mike, it just gets better, doesn't it? Just gets better.
Don't want the day to end, mate.
No.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't started talking about the Accrington game yet, but
let's just talk about golf. You two can talk about golf, and I'll just sit here and close off.
Talk a bit about cricket. And,
I'll indulge you first, Craig, because before we go into the match action, a little bit of news that people might have missed earlier on this week or even forgotten about was the signing of Aussie trialist Tete Yengi, a 6'5" striker who can also play out wide. Craig, that's the sort of player that you like, isn't it?
Yeah. Strikers who can, if he scores in his debut and gets a 10 out of 10 rating in Match Magazine, and then gets pushed out wide and drives us to winning the championship and promotion into the Premier League, then he'll do all right by me. So coming just out of the blue. I don't know whether we've got any particular links down there.
I think I read somewhere it came via Keeley, the goalkeeping coach.
Okay. Yeah. He's actually I did look a bit into it, and his dad's not famous, but he's done a lot of work for charity, and has actually got like the Aussie equivalent of the MBE or CBE, OBE
Oh, wow.
for that. Yeah, he does a lot of work for refugees in Africa and building schools and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, him and his brother plays, doesn't he? I think in the A-League. He's got an older brother who plays currently over there. Both sort of strikers, rangy strikers.
Lovely stuff. Hopefully someone will get to see in the future. But yeah, we can't delay any further, gents. Let's get into the Accrington game. And we went there full of confidence after a week where we got 7 points from 3 games. We put 6 past Doncaster on Tuesday night. Accrington hadn't won in 4 and conceded 14 across those games. And I think some people will say, oh, sod's law, Ipswich will go there and lose. But I don't think any of us were actually saying that on this occasion, were we? I think we all, especially, wasn't any injuries to the first team players. Edwards was back in the squad, but otherwise it was the same team that won so impressively against Doncaster. You look at that lineup, don't you, Craig? And you think, how can we lose this game?
Yeah, exactly. We've got a bit of momentum behind us. Good result. Lincoln draw, Sheffield Wednesday, fantastic result, albeit against quite by some distance what we've seen the worst team to be at Portman Road this season. But even so, to put them to the sword, as they say, yeah, things were looking rosy. And as you say, Accrington are on the back of a couple of thumpings themselves, and there's only going to be one result. Even the East Anglian guys were. Stuart Watson was going to predict we were going to win 4-1, I think, in his report. So there was.
Yeah, I think Brenner had predicted off air that it was going to be 4-0.
Yeah,
apparently Alex Matthew talked him down from that. Apparently,
that was quite funny. He predicted that.
We never learn.
Then Alex Matthew turned up.
Along comes Matthew.
Curse.
Oh, Matthew. I'll just run through the 2 teams. So we had Hladky in goal, Penny, Burgess, Edmondson, Donacien, Evers and Morsey, Fraser and Burns wide of Selina, who's in behind Macaulay Bonn. Savin in goal for Accrington. They seem to be playing, according to what I've looked at, a 3-5-1-1 formation. Amankwa, Nottingham and Shering, the defenders. Hamilton left wing back, Conville right wing back, Keneally, Morgan and Butcher in the middle, and Pell playing in behind Bishop. Not really much to talk about from the first half, Dave, but we managed to go in 1-0 up thanks to our star striker.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was fairly even. I don't think it was many chances created at both ends, particularly. And then I think we got the press quite well. I believe it was Fraser pressing wide on their left. I think wins the ball from Morgan. The sort of ball breaks. I think the ball breaks inside actually to Bonn, who's challenged by, I think it was Nottingham or someone like that. Gets a foot in, but now by this time Fraser has drifted in field and it's fallen to him. He slipped it to 5-yard, 10-yard ball to Selina. It's just a bit of class, wasn't it? And I mean, a simple ball, but almost a disguised ball. He's sort of facing straight and he sort of passes it. It was a clever ball, wasn't it? And there was only one option, one outcome after that, and I think Brenner described it quite well on Radio Suffolk. Almost said before he sort of passed it in, well, there's only one outcome here, and he just stroked it. Bond just stroked it in the corner. Opened himself up and just stroked it in the corner. Such a simple goal. The pass made it is lovely, and that was pretty much it for the whole first half. And I think the general feeling was, we're in at half time. Yeah, haven't really weathered a storm because there hasn't really been a storm. It was just a sort of bit of a nothing first half, but one bit of class, I guess, from Selina and the class finish from Bonn. We go in 1-0 up. Happy days. Keep it tight. Let's get the second and get out of Dodge. But yeah.
It was nice. It was nice for our number 10 to create a goal, wasn't it? Because we've been bemoaning our number 10 not being involved much in games, haven't we? Like release or being able, the team and the system being able to get much out of them. But for it to be that partnership, that number 10 playing the ball through to the striker is exactly what you want. And it's just
so simple, wasn't it?
Simple. It's either, we said before, it's either a diagonal ball and a straight run, or a straight ball and diagonal run. Just gets through every time, near enough.
Yeah.
And we can afford to have Fraser and Selina drifting in and out of the game if they are making an
Creating.
impact on the scoreline and creating good chances. That 1-0 scoreline probably meant that Cook didn't have too many negative words to say to them at half time. I don't know what went on in the Accrington dressing room, but they came up flying. Go on, Dave. What were you going to say?
No, I mean, I don't think it necessarily. I don't think it sort of. They said it's pretty even, and they didn't say the score necessarily flattered us. 1-0 either way would have perhaps been about fair, but there was just nothing in it really. I don't think.
But there was certainly something in the second half, though, and I think Accrington came out strong, and I think we lasted 5 minutes before they equalised. Craig, do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, they just as you say, just second half, they just seemed to get in our faces more, didn't they? They were more aggressive, just pressing us, closing us down, not allowing us time on the ball, which teams are allowed to do to us. If they want to stand off us like Doncaster, fantastic. But on occasion, teams will actually get in your face and try and tackle you and beat you up a little bit. But this is just a scrappy goal, isn't it? It was a throw in down our right. Sorry, down there. Right.
They're right. Yeah.
They're right.
Yeah.
Our
Down
left,
there, right. And I think it was a Mankwa gets a bit of a scuffy old cross, isn't it?
Horrible cross.
Yeah, it's not a nice cross. And I think Pell, who's a unit, I didn't realise Pell was so big. He's a massive guy, isn't he? 6'4", 6'5". He gets a little flick on it. And Colby Bishop's, he seems to be running quite wide, a very tight angle. Gets a shot when I think Edmondson's sliding in, and somehow it sort of clips, either goes under Edmondson and flicks up over Hladky, doesn't it? I think Hladky, well, who knows? He may well have stopped it had it been just a normal flush shot at him. But that little deflection just sort of skips it off the turf and over. Hladky is already diving.
I don't think it was a lot too much wrong defensively with that, was there really? I mean, we were just done by the flick. And I've got to say, looking at the goal, Bishop's first touch was really good. Really good, because he kills it, doesn't he? He kills it, and whether that's a touch of luck, I don't know, but it sort of kills it, and he spins and just hits it first time. It's not a bad. Can we be critical there? I'm not sure. It's just one of those that 9 times out of 10, perhaps, once that flick has flicked on, someone gets a foot in and it goes behind or something like that. But yeah, then you're right, Craig. It was a bit unfortunate, because I think Edmondson does get a bit of the ball, doesn't he? But it just simply deflects it past Hladky. But again, it's a classic, isn't it? What Cook must have said at halftime, you'd hope, keep it tight first 10. Let's get the ball down, keep it tight, and then we play.
Keep the crowd
out the window
quiet.
Straight away.
Yeah.
Crowd, yeah. Or how many? It was 800 Ipswich, 2,600. Keep the 1,400 quiet. Keep the 1,800 quiet, or whatever. Yeah, it's just disappointing.
Very disappointing indeed. Cook makes his first changes on 64 minutes. It's good to see Edwards back. Harper came on with Fraser and Selina, the players coming off. Certainly looks like Harper is seen as an advanced midfielder by Cook now. By this time, Accrington are really banging on the door. Donacia makes a crucial tackle. Hladky makes a decent save from Bishop. But on 79 minutes, the inevitable happens.
Yeah, and the fact that we brought Harper on and Chaplin didn't come off the bench, did he, yesterday?
No.
Would sort of indicate that Cook had acknowledged that it's going to be might need a bit more physicality on the pitch, rather than Chaplin maybe buzzing around it as his number 10. And again, their second goal, their winner, comes from a very similar position. It's down the right, and Penny's sort of covering him, but Penny doesn't seem to. He seems to be showing him on the guy onto his stronger foot. He's got running down the right, and Penny's showing him to the right, and he still manages to get the cross in. I can't work out whether it goes in front or behind Penny, but he did poor not to stop the cross. And then Pell gets in front or reacts a bit quicker than Donassi and centre a goal about 16 yards out. Gets his shot away first time, just on the half volley, and it's not in the corner, shall we say? It's close to Hladky down to his left, and he doesn't get down quick enough to stop it. Can you be generous and say it's too close to him to drop down on it that quickly? If had it been more in the corner, could he got a dive in? I don't know, but yeah, it was a very. I said the shot was straighter than you'd like, I think, for the goalkeeper to be letting it in, unfortunately. But as you said, Mike, they'd been banging at the door. You could tell that something was coming. The reports were, Christ, we need to weather this storm. You could just tell that the momentum was building, and we just couldn't hold out or stand up to it or create anything of our own.
Yeah, we weren't hitting them on the break, were we? When we did shut down attacks.
No, it was just coming straight back to us. Yeah.
I think that's the most disappointing thing. I mean, we had 2 shots all game. We had 50 again. Shades of last season, at 54% possession, 2 shots all game. One of which was the goal. So we just didn't second half. We weren't on the front foot at all. You go to these places. You know what it's going to be. We say it on the WhatsApp. Don't be shithousery. You know what it's going to be like. And apparently yesterday, or listen to Morsey's interview afterwards, it was the worst of the worst. But you've got to expect that. And you made a really good point. Craig made a really good point that teams aren't going to sit off us like Doncaster and allow you to play through, because we can play, with the quality we've got, we can play through anyone. But you have to earn the right to play at these places and roll your sleeves up and work and play on the front foot. And this was what Matthew was saying on the commentary. We're just not playing on the front foot.
Yeah.
It's
we're quite an aggressive team, though, aren't we? When we've got Morsey out there, Evans, the two centre backs, big physical lads, Barn up front is a handful.
Yeah, when it suits, we are.
Yeah, just done. Yeah. I think Evans was just again reading between the lines yesterday. I was saying, Selena hasn't been brilliant, but one bit of class created a goal. Evans, okay, great hat trick on Tuesday, done nothing, reverted to type yesterday.
And you could tell. I think Rich put the XG graph on the WhatsApp, and Bond's goal, our XG even after Bond's goal was 0.2. And it stayed. It flatlined from then on to the rest of the match. It didn't get any higher. That was it.
We've got so many creative players. We know we have Burns. Selena. All these creative players. Fraser.
Yeah.
You read out the two 11s. At the start, and you're not telling me that man for man, technically, we're not miles better than that. But doesn't mean a thing. If you don't work and roll your sleeves up and you're prepared to grind it out, doesn't mean anything. And typical Ipswich soft touch again. We've seen it all before.
We haven't.
I think we played into their.
Yeah, we did. Absolutely played into their hands. Yeah,
hitting it long to Bon.
Horrible weather, windy, rainy, horrible. No one really fancies it. Got what we deserved in the end. Nothing.
We did have one chance before the game finished. Doncaster slipped a lovely ball through for Burns. Gets to the byline. Burns is the man you want there. We've spoken about how good he is in that position, whipping in a nice low cross, and he's just, I don't know if it was whether you can blame it on the conditions, but he's ended up just scooping it into the stand behind the goal.
Blame on the weatherman. He's a bit hit and miss, isn't he, Burns, with his crossing
delivery.
But for every one that he'll slide in perfectly to Bon, he'll slam one 40 yards past him, over to the far side for a throw in. So
the Keenan Bennett's effect, that's what it was.
Keenan Bennett's algorithm, yeah.
It's just
good band they were, mate. The Keenan Bennett's algorithm. They're at Reading, I think. Reading '93 they were at.
Yeah, I preferred their second album. That was.
It's just such a disappointment coming off the back of the other night, but it's just such an Ipswich result, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you this, Dave, before we get onto the Twitter questions. You say it's such an Ipswich result. When you hear a scoreline like Accrington, let's call them Accrington Stanley 2, Ipswich 1. Does that still really sting for you, Dave?
Of course it does.
Or have you just sort of got used to it?
Oh, no, I feel like
I've got used to it. I used to be quite upset by this sort of scoreline a couple of years ago.
There's a degree of acceptance now. Of course there is. But God, looking at the bigger picture, of course, it's just hard to take, isn't it? But it's not unusual because I think they now beaten us 3 times. I think we won there last year, but other than that, they've beaten us 3 times out of 4, haven't they? Is that about? I think that's about right.
Yeah, I believe so. What would a 14-year-old David Diamond say if you
14? Gee,
14 if you went back in time and said, Dave, when you're late
50s,
you're going to be watching Ipswich lose against Accrington 3 times in 4 years.
I'd have thought, Christ, Accrington Stanley have had a hell of a lot of good cup runs to get to the 4th or 5th round. I mean, who could foresee it? I mean, it's just, I'd say appalling, but it's just what it is. And I think Morsey's comments summed it up. Very frustrated, but I think he was a little bit perhaps almost tinge of disrespectful there, calling him
Yeah,
almost
I don't like that.
No,
Yeah,
I thought that was
non-league.
a bit much. No, but he I think where he was trying to get to is, as I said earlier, you have to earn the right to play and go face to face, head to head with these, and cope with it. Obviously, we're not ready to yet, or certainly wasn't yesterday, which is a surprise when you've got someone like Morsey in the side who's supposed to be our enforcer and lead by example, but other players have got to respond as well.
You say, should we be surprised by it, Mikey? But it has come on relatively hot on the heels of a 2-1 loss to Cheltenham Town and a 2-1 loss to Burton Albion. So it's not a flash in the pan.
Don't even. Yeah, God. But the difference is, 3 or 4 games ago, Wigan, who are obviously doing very well, went there and won 4-1. Was it? I think. Okay, conditions perhaps played a part in it. Yes, who knows? But even so, same for both sides and stuff. Yeah, immensely disappointing and frustrating. And I can even listen when that was quite funny. I'd switched off after a while, and I thought I'll just have a look at the forum, see what's happening. As soon as I went on the TWT forum, I just saw this post that said FFS. I thought, oh, here we go. I don't need to look.
Deary me. Right, let's move on into the Twitter question, shall we? Right, and James Monk, give our congratulations to him. I believe he got married a couple of weeks ago.
Nice one, James. Didn't know that. Congratulations.
He says, could someone let Mr. Cook know that you can change tactics before it's too late and other formations are available? Is this going to be a bit frustrating, lads? Because he did bring Norwood on. Didn't mention that. He brought Norwood on 80 minutes just after we conceded. Is that going to be the only time that we see a different formation this year?
So at that stage, effectively, we went 2 up, did we?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's the same when we brought Piggott on, didn't we? At Sheffield Wednesday game, and we had Chaplin on. They just basically all played anywhere they wanted to in the final third of the pitch, didn't they? But it's the thing is, you're going to get, after every loss, after every defeat, the same questions are going to be raised, aren't they? In terms of assistant manager and tactical nous on the bench and being reactive rather than proactive in terms of the substitutions. Who's giving Cook a little word in the ear and stuff like that. It's all very well, being active and vocal when you're winning 4-0 against Doncaster and looking to score even more goals. When you need someone in your ear and a bit of help and guidance is when you're getting your ass handed to you on a play 1-1 away at Accrington, and they're knocking down the door, sort of thing. So, yeah, it is a concern. But he's wedded to this formation, isn't he? He is. He said it from the very beginning. It's a bit like Bielsa, isn't it? Plan B is doing Plan A better.
Yeah,
it is what it is. Until such time as you need a goal, and we'll sling on someone else and start going for it a bit more in the last 10 minutes. It's a concern.
Yep.
There's another question on a similar note from Pete Gold. Should we be worried that Cook is more reactive than proactive? A wet and windy second half would always favour Accrington's direct physical style. So why did he wait until the 80th minute to bring on Norwood?
No, I agree. Craig said it. Reactive rather than proactive. Exactly. So Norwood is the typical classic player for those conditions, isn't he? Up and at them. Gets in defenders' faces, gets in the opposition faces. 10 minutes. Yeah.
But then, as you said,
hindsight.
But then, as you said, Mikey, we haven't got a team of lightweight players anymore. We've got 2 bloody great hulking centre halves. We've now, I suppose, got this bruiser, little battleship defensive midfielder going around and kicking people. We've got Bon can handle himself up front, but then you've got Norwood as well handling himself. Harper, I appreciate, big in stature, but not necessarily particularly tough tackling. But even so, these aren't lightweight Selena types dotted all over the pitch. These are Danasian at right back as well. They're
you're not fielding a midfield that includes Dizelle and Bishop, are you?
No,
good players, technical players that they were, but yeah, that's sort of, you want to fancy those. Yesterday, even Evans is a big bloke, big guy physically.
Yeah.
Just ultimately, I think that would be the manager. Well, that would be the biggest concern, that we just second half didn't compete. Compete at all.
If you're getting bullied by Accrington's Stanley in League One, then you've got problems for the rest of the League One.
Other sides are going to pick up on that. Absolutely. Yeah. flat. Well, they're saying cricket. What flat
Yeah.
track bullies the other night, weren't we? And were.
Do you think it could be the same again when we go to places like Fleetwood then?
Cambridge, Fleetwood, yeah.
Cool. Got all these to look forward to, haven't we?
Be interesting. I mean, it'd be interesting. Couple of weeks. So 2 weeks. What 2 weeks is it now? Portsmouth. That'll be a good old yardstick. That game, I think, of where we are.
Especially after yesterday's result for them.
Yeah, exactly. That will be a good pointer of where we are. Come away from there with a result, and yeah, you might think slightly different. That'll
And then a week and a bit later, you got Plymouth away, haven't you?
They're flying. Yeah,
another good good judge. As long as we win our home game 6-0, we'll be fine.
But the league's it's all over the place. I mean, Darlington. I mean, you said the worst side we've seen this season. Since we've been at that level, they're comfortably the worst side I've seen at that level, and that includes Southend a couple of years ago. And we spoke earlier on, didn't we? Before we went on air, that they're now in the relegation zone in the National League, aren't they? Doncaster, which is awful the other night, and I've got to say, probably the best team. I missed the Bolton game; I was away, but other than that, the best team I've seen down at Portman Road by far was MK Dons, and to go and lose to Doncaster. I mean, just bonkers, isn't it? Sunderland madness. But there you go.
Another bonkers division. Mullet might not be talking to you two anymore after you criticised his wrestling.
Every cloud then.
He asks, what movie was today's performance? As I stood in the rain watching the future we asked for, questioning my existence, I'd suggest Blade Runner.
I think I read this.
That was Mullet, by the way.
I thought Daryl summed it up pretty well with Daryl Jones with Groundhog Day. I think that's just about right, isn't it?
Yeah. Having been there for Jordan Spence's last ever Ipswich Town appearance in the Cup that time, it was seemed to be very reminiscent of that.
I'm sure there's not a film. I'm sure there's a play out there by someone like Oscar Wilde called After the Lord Mayor's Show. Surely, isn't there?
See what you've done there. Very nice.
There you go.
Very nice. FPL Tractor said that he called the Bolton game the disjointed phase. Are we now in the inconsistent phase before we hit the well-oiled machine phase? I guess it was too much to hope that we'd go straight from 1 to 3. There's a positive spin on things, isn't it, Craig? I know you're quite a dour person, aren't you? You're not going to get
dour.
Rude, mate. I'm a glass half full kind
of guy.
There you
go. There he is, isn't it?
Well, let's hope that that's the thing, though, isn't it? It's consistency, isn't it? If any team in this division gets an element of winning consistency, they'll shoot up the leagues, won't they? And to be fair, we're going to have to pretty much very, very, very quickly get our consistency phase sorted because we're getting cut adrift. But just hope that our consistency phase doesn't suddenly kick in, middle of April time, because we're being inconsistent between now and then. Because at the moment, it just looks like it's not even one step forward, one step back, is it? It's 1 step forward and 2 steps back. We've sort of burst our bubble in the space of 4 days.
Our colleague Joe came up with something quite good today where you'd like this, but I'm sure you saw it, Craig, that for the 91, the last time we got automatic promotion was obviously 91, 92 from the obviously Championship or Second Division to the new Premier League. And if we were to show that form from now on to the rest of the season, that gets 75 points, which should sneak us into 6th.
Yeah.
Sobering
exactly.
thought.
Exactly.
Were you about to say, can anybody do that Witten role, Craig? I feel like that's where that was about to head back to that.
Yeah. No, I don't think they can just yet.
Did he really get 10 out of 10 on his debut?
He did, mate. Yeah. West Brom at home.
West Brom.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. The goals on YouTube, if people want to search out. I'll put it on my Twitter.
You love him, don't you? Love him.
Right. Chris Rand says the post-match interview was significant. It's the first time I've really seen Cook criticise the team like that. Until now, whatever he said or thought in private, he hasn't called the players out in public. How will they react? Presumably, Chris is referring to so far this season because Cook did have quite a few.
That's all he did. That's all he did last season. Was called him out.
Well, you'd hope you'd hope they'd get a reaction. I think it's a good thing that our game's still on next Saturday, because there's a fair few in League One. I think they was talking about Accrington. I forget who Accrington are playing, but I looked at that with dismay earlier on. Going back to what you said a few minutes ago about how do I feel about losing to Accrington, whether it was Accrington against, and forgive me, I can't remember who they're playing, but their game's been called off because of international call-ups. We're still playing. But look, I think that's a good thing. Shrewsbury at home, hopefully a win, and off you go again. But we are up. I mean, we just need to start winning, don't we? Again, pick it up soon, and hopefully the players will react in the right way.
But then you've got it's this sort of two ways to look at it. You think, well, this is now Cook's squad, 100% Cook's squad. He's handpicked these guys on mentality as well as a playing ability, and they can go out and produce a performance like they did yesterday. But then by the same token, you've got to put some onus on the players themselves. There is very little he can do once they've stepped out the porter cabin and onto the pitch. What more can he do? He's got to rely on these guys with hundreds of games experience to stand up and fight.
No, presumably he's not telling these players, no, duck out of that challenge. Don't compete. I mean, it's pride in it. I don't understand it. That was of a couple of few seasons of disappointments. I think yesterday was a new low, probably because everyone was on such a high after Tuesday, and we just haven't had that, have we? It's been ages since you said, Craig, that we put anyone to the sword and given them a good hiding, and you could see it coming. You could see it. I suppose some of the passages of play, and you sort of sit down, and some of the draws we've had the 2-2s and stuff like that, and you think, but one day we're going to get it right, and we're going to give someone an absolute tonking, which we did, and then you think, oh, here we go, you're almost not back to square one, but it's such a huge setback, I think, yesterday.
And Chris asked how will they react? You'd hope that, as Dave says, the players have got some pride in the performance they put out today, and they don't need anything now from Cook. It'll be up to Morsey and Edmondson and Burgess and whoever else
characters
to grab everyone by the scruff of the neck and say, "Come on, guys, for Christ's sake! We're supposedly one of the best squads in this division here. We need to start pulling our fingers out."
You wonder about characters in the team and stuff, don't you? Again, I know we sort of harping back to latter years, but even going back to your favourite, 91, 92, big characters like, Linnigan was centre half, big, uncompromising, run through brick walls, winning obviously playing John Walk. I mean, that obviously helps, but big characters in that side. Didn't it? Stockwell, honest, big, pros, and I don't know. We just don't seem to have that at the moment. But I think, as he said, the only ones really that seemingly came out of any credit was obviously Bon, obviously for his goal, and obviously up there on his own pretty much for all the game. And I think he said Doncaster was sort of half decent, and he has been good, hasn't he?
Dave, I'd love to know how many times you've said a new low over the last 6 years on this podcast.
Subterranean now, mate. Mariana.
There has been several. I certainly think that rant a few years back after, I think it was a Huddersfield result, when me and Ben just started swearing and lost it completely, was probably the worst. But like I said, it probably wasn't a new low, but it was just such a setback, after Tuesday evening, after such a high. That's a problem. And the last.
I think it might have just been a case of it was a new high on Tuesday, Dave.
Well,
a happy night in League One for us.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Peckham Blue. We've all seen the way Ashton responds to our victories. How do you think he's reacting and thinking now?
I think not a lot of evidence of him happy clapping in the rain yesterday, was there?
No. And funnily enough, we're talking about Southend just now. Their owner attempted to go and talk to their fans yesterday after they got beaten at Solihull to drop them into the relegation. He wasn't greeted overly affectionately, shall we say.
Fair play.
Yeah, but that's an interesting point, actually. I know it wasn't necessarily the question that Peckham Blue asked, but in terms of what conversations are actually happening in the background between Ashton, O'Leary, and the guys in the US, it'd be intriguing to know. I assume there are alarm bells ringing, but how loudly are they ringing, and how long are they willing to let this play out?
Was there a bit of a classic soundbite from Detmer over after the Doncaster who said the train has just left the station?
Yeah,
I think the points have just failed.
Yeah, just derailed somewhere near Accrington.
No, it's just an
Points
Abellio.
have
It's an
failed
Abellio
just
Anglia
outside Crewe.
service.
Oh dear, honestly, yeah.
Just,
Points failure at Shenfield again.
Yeah, yeah. Might have to change and get on a bus at Kelvedon.
Yeah, bus
to
replacement
Ingatstone.
service.
Great stuff.
Brilliant. Andy Oliver says, I'm not even going to attempt to say his Twitter title. I'll just go with his handle, Andy Oliver. I think I'm more disappointed by the performance than the result. I think we all are, aren't we? We were more outthought than outfought. Does Cook need a plan B, and would an assistant make a difference? You've already sort of talked about this, haven't you, Craig? And if Cook is happy with his assistants, they need to be offering a little bit more when the going gets tough. If we're judging them by how often we're seeing them talk to Cook during the game, they're not really doing enough when things aren't going our way. It seemed like the Doncaster game, they were full of ideas, but
yeah. As I say, Doncaster, when you're free falling up, and Gary Roberts is telling everyone where to stand at corners and do this, that, and the other at free kicks. But I know you joked about it lightheartedly at the beginning of the show about sitting in hospitality and that, but the Cheltenham away, I was actually in hospitality. And as
he's living it out. He's living
a
a life, isn't he? Cole, you Cheltenham.
All the big, you can keep your New Highbury and the Emirates and Old Trafford.
Yes, there's a modern reference.
As new as I get, mate. But by virtue of that, I was sitting behind the dugouts, and poor old Cook on that Cheltenham game, he was all by himself. He was literally there, and all the other guys were just sat either on the bench or on the call box, saying nothing to him. He was literally, it's all on him. But as I said before, we're going to get this after every loss. After every loss, the same questions are going to be raised about: are we lacking an assistant manager? But I'm sure if we were, or if it was thought that we were, there'd be one in place already, because you can't keep letting it go like this.
No.
Right. You're
totally
right.
Going back, I said the same about Lambert and Culverhouse, and maybe Cook and Richardson is the same.
That was one of the questions, actually, just going back to the George Burley thing. I was only allowed one question, and I blew it on Benidi George and Matteo Serini. But I was going to ask him about actually assistant managers, because he himself famously had Dale Roberts, who was obviously a close friend of his. But after that, it was John Gorman, it was Stuart Houston, who were slightly older, more experienced, and not necessarily guys that he knew particularly closely. I don't think you might know him in passing and stuff, but these were solid guys who probably would question stuff.
John Gorman became available, didn't he, when Glenn Hoddle lost his England job?
Yeah,
and the club brought him in, presumably. I can't imagine it was George Burley saying, "Can you get this guy in?"
Yeah,
and I don't think anyone was saying that he was undermined by it.
No, but he was always with Roberts.
Did Brian Hamilton do a bit as well?
Yeah,
I think he did. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, round about that 97, 98, seemingly 98. Yeah.
We probably had Stuart Houston once he left Arsenal, probably, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He came in and helped out.
I mean, Roberts was always there as well. I mean, Roberts, great friends. They grew up in the youth team together. Great, as we said again before, you said, he came over at 14, 15 from Scotland. I think, him and Roberts were in the same batch of youth players back then. So,
you could actually say that Burley maybe started to lose his way when Roberts wasn't around as much.
Yeah, no, a really good point. And they know how, he knew how he worked, and they know how each other ticks, so to speak. Well, I just don't think you've you've got that with what the setup there now.
Got one last Twitter question. It's Mike Turbot. I think he may well have been at every game so far this season. He says, "We still have an arrogance throughout the club since relegation.
Yeah.
We had quality in our team expecting to just turn up and win. Now we have a new squad full of quality that expects to do the same. Does this stem from the fans' expectations or a big club mentality?"
It's whatever.
It is starting to look a little bit like the last couple of years already, isn't it?
Yeah, and as we said before, that I appreciate it's sort of taken out of context, the Morsey quotes, and he does sort of preface it all with all due respect, or I don't wish to sound disrespectful, and then goes off to slate Accrington
I'm not
and their
being funny, but
yeah, exactly. I'm not racist, but um, it's not a good look to come out. And sorry, Mike, I'll answer in a sec, but it's not a good look to come out and act like a spoiled, mollycoddled footballer who aren't up for the fight, sort of thing. And I think Rich posted on TWTD earlier about when we came down with Lambert, we were trying to play this, the Man City of League One, and we'll just knock it around and we'll play through people and we'll all hold hands at the end of the match at Gillingham and thank everyone. And now we're doing laps of honour after beating the worst team in the league by some considerable distance on Tuesday night, and within 4 days we're getting our backsides handed to us at when the going gets tough. So I don't know if it's ingrained in the club, because these are all brand new players now, aren't they? It's a completely brand new setup.
Yeah, you're right.
Behind the scenes and on the pitch.
Should have lost that. Should have really lost that mentality. That's all. Should gone. There's everything behind the scenes. Knew everything, isn't it? Yeah, that mentality should have gone, but still there.
And it's not as if Cook doesn't know the league, does it? It's not as if this is all new to him. This is where he's done most of his good work. Is in this division. He knows exactly what these teams are like. He knows exactly what these grounds are like, what the atmosphere is going to be like, what the stadium, the fans, the playing styles. He knows all this.
Yeah, seemingly second half they just ran all over us, didn't they? And we didn't stand up, and that's what you have to do.
You do indeed. Let's talk through some of the other results. So Bolton still flying high. They beat Shrewsbury 2-1. Shrewsbury is our next League One opponent. Rotherham won 2-0 away at Cheltenham. Cambridge, who we face away soon, drew 2-2 at Crewe. Doncaster, as you mentioned, Dave, beat Milton Keynes 2-1. A rare win for Charlton. They won away at Fleetwood 2-1. Wigan still flying high. They won 2-0 at Gillingham. We obviously face Gillingham this week in the Pizza Trophy. Lincoln drew 2-2 against high-flying Plymouth. Pompey 4-0 winners over Sunderland. Who saw that one coming? Oxford won 2-1 away at Sheffield Wednesday. And in the craziest game of all, Wickham scored a late winner to beat Morecambe 4-3. Wickham looking pretty strong. And Chris Rand asked us he promoted this tweet from Stephen Bailey. Dave, I know you've kind of referenced the bonkers division. So Sunderland won 5-0 during the week and lost 4-0 against Portsmouth yesterday. Coventry lost 5-0 during the week. Obviously, this is a championship, and won 4-1 against Fulham. Doncaster lost 6-0 and won 2-1 against Milton Keynes. And obviously Ipswich won 6-0 against Doncaster, and then managed to lose at Accrington.
No rhyme or reason, is there? Crazy. That's why we love it.
That's why we love it.
We said about consistency, isn't it? And the only Wigan, before Sunderland got hiding yesterday, Wigan and Plymouth to a certain extent are the ones that are seemingly at the moment just keeping that consistency and scoring goals and just racking up the points.
Consistency is, and that is what I want, in the words of David Brent. Wigan are now top after Sunderland's defeat. So Sunderland, despite that 4-0 defeat, still have a +7 goal difference. But Wigan +10 at the top of the league. 22 points, averaging more than 2 points a game. Plymouth, as you say, very consistent. They're drawing a lot of games, but then they've only lost once all season. Rotherham have sort of sneakily got up there after a bit of a sticky start. Wickham, as I mentioned, 5th. Milton Keynes had a dodgy week, dropped down to 6th. Bolton have won 2 on the spin, up in 7th. Oxford have had a good week. They're up to 8th. And then Portsmouth are in the top half now as well. But Doncaster, we've spoken about how bad they are. They're bottom, but they're only 4 points behind us. No, they're not. They're three points behind us.
Yeah, which was the win the other night.
And who do we have next? Shrewsbury, who are
talking apart. When does it get to the point where we start honestly looking down rather than
Oh my God.
looking up. You know,
Well,
I mean, you've got 10 games in now.
and we're 1 point off relegation, and 5 out of the top 6 have got twice as many points as we have.
And
At least
you
twice
know,
as many
and look
points,
at those fixtures we've had, those 10 games.
There
There's
could be a
certainly
few
harder
more
ones.
new lows to come,
There's
Dave.
You'll
there's some
be
hard.
you'll be digging down the bottom of Mariana's trench, mate, by the end of October. You'll be looking up.
Can I plunder the depths? Oh, it's just. Oh, I don't know. Hey, that's why we love them, isn't it? That's why we love them.
I don't know.
Never know what to expect.
It's just so bloody draining, though, isn't it? You know, you think, Christ, just give us 2 matches in a row that we can be happy about. You know, it's not much to ask, is it?
But you go in half time, 1-0 up, brilliant. 1-0 up, brilliant. Yeah. See it. They'll come out a second half. See that off. Get 1 or make it 2. Got 3-0. That'd be good. 6-0, 3-0. That'll make people look up. Same old.
Yeah.
We go again, as the
We
players
go
say.
again, indeed. We go again with a
Go
midweek
again.
show featuring Benjamin Bloom this week. I'll be joining Rich to preview the Shrewsbury game on Saturday. Shrewsbury are second bottom on 8 points.
I've got to say, just
They
quickly,
will leapfrog us with a win at Portman Road.
Got to give a plug for those shows. Those preview shows are excellent. Rich and Seb, really enjoying those. Brilliant.
Yeah.
He just needs to stop predicting the correct goal scorer for the away team every single week.
Mind you, next game he'll probably pick the goalkeeper and he'll save 2 penalties or something, and score and come up for a corner and score.
Although to be fair, he did predict. You know, not wishing to disparage Rich's prediction, but Christ, even I could have predicted Colby Bishop was going to.
Bishop was. He did mention Pell in dispatches though, didn't he?
Yeah, I did have a couple of quid on Bishop to score, but Ipswich to win at the same time. But unfortunately, Rich come good on his bit, but Paul Cook didn't come good on his.
Indeed, I think Joe Fairs might have had Ipswich to win by 3 or more goals, didn't he?
Was it you, Craig, the other night when Joe showed some sort of betting slip, and you said, "If you're now going to show me you had Lee Evans to score a hat trick, I'm not going to be happy."
Yeah, Ipswich win 6-0 double. Yeah.
Oh, the big bet today was, do you have the winner of the Arc de Triomphe for 80-1? That'd been quite nice, wouldn't it? Crikey.
Well, is that what's that? Dave?
That was it's a French classic, the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. Yeah, 80-1 won it today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that horse racing?
Dear me.
Cycling.
The horse is
horse racing.
The horse is always
cycling.
The horses always run quicker in France, mate, because they're getting chased with knives and forks.
Actually, talking about cycling, it was the famous Paris-Roubaix ride today. Well, over the cobbles, absolutely brutal. It was on TV a bit earlier. I was switching from the marathon, watching a bit of that this morning. It was like driving rain and sort of going hell for leather on bloody bikes with wheels like that thick over cobbles. My bad arm was starting to itch.
God, I think I need a slightly more padded seat to get going on those.
Crikey. Yeah.
Excellent. So that preview show will be available on Friday morning for those interested. And yeah, you said it's been good. It might not be quite as good this time because it's me rather than Seb. The flagship show will be back next Sunday. I'm sure at least one of you will be there for that. After a 5-0 win over Shrewsbury. We beat them a couple of years ago, didn't we, Dave? I think we beat them 3-0 at home. Or was it 4-1 maybe? I think
quite
a good win without playing
all these seasons and teams like Shrewsbury and
they're the ones with all they're the massive defenders. They're about 3 defenders that are about 6'8".
Oh, that was that Beckles, that Omar Beckles. Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
All these teams sort of merge into one when I think about games. I remember anything that happened like 40 odd years ago when we were riding high in Europe and stuff like that. But ask me the score against, I don't know, whoever it was we played London. God. But there you go.
Excellent. Any last words before we go, gents? Anything you'd like to plug? Any good books you've read or anything?
Someone said the Mariner book is coming out soon. I think Joe said that, or Rich said that. That's coming out quite soon. There was talk of the Blue Monday Book Club being resurrected or something. Well, not resurrected. That was an idea we had a couple of seasons ago, when Harry was amongst us. But so yeah, that might be a possibility. I think that's coming out later this month, so that's something to look out for. And obviously, I know this has been mentioned before. Anyone that hasn't hasn't been to the Wolsey. Yeah, I mean that's just unbelievable. Have you streamed? Have you been, Craig, or obviously or streamed? You went.
It's pretty clever if I got a program from the live stream, mate. Isn't it?
Well, no, I don't know if you can get programs. You know, if you can get them anyway. Who did you have on the?
Do they do hospitality at the Wolsey Theatre?
Well, funnily enough, I was sitting next to Rich Woodward, so that was hospitality enough for me. Me and Rich went on. We went on Thursday. We had a date on Thursday to go. But no, it is very good. My only slight gripe is that the music isn't all from 1981, but you know,
it isn't.
We'll let that pass.
You're quite right. It isn't. I thought that, but thought no, I'm not going to say anything. Who was your player at the end, or players?
Are we allowed to spoiler it? We had Steve McCall for our player at the end.
No, because they changed from
choice.
Changed from night to I went like second night. I think it was Mick Mills, legend. But Steve McCall, nice one.
Yeah,
I had Alan Hunter when I went to the FA Cup one. I don't think I'm going to make it to the UEFA Cup one, unfortunately.
But like I said, you can stream it, can't you? I think.
Yeah, every night's performance is being live streamed. Yeah, but they're all good. It's good. The band was good, and the
really good.
Really they all the actors go and play the instruments and all
incredible,
sorts.
Isn't it? Is it the same? Is it the same cast that did
a lot? I think
yeah.
Certainly Bobby Robson's the same. Is this Peter Pevley, who's just unbelievable, incredible. Yeah. And I think certainly 3 or 4 I'd say of the cast are the same. It's a cracking night. Yeah, obviously for likes of me that remember it, that can just about remember it all. Yeah, it's good, really good.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, probably not my best performance tonight. Definitely not Ipswich's best performance this weekend. But we've got to the end of the show. Thanks very much for watching and listening. Again, congratulations to Mr. Wade.
Oh, brilliant.
Enjoy your jelly deals, and see you next time, guys.
Cheers. Thanks.
Cheers,
Mikey. Cheers, Craig. Cheers.